Hey everybody, this is Chad Warren. I sure hope this video records because every time I try to do it, it disconnects. Does anybody else have this trouble with a YouTube upload? What the heck? I wanted to meet with everybody about the Declaration of Independence of the United States. Since the 4th of July, the birthday of this country is coming up tomorrow. And it looks like to me we're in exactly the same situation that caused it to be written and declared, in that we need to free ourselves from the tyranny of Great Britain. I mean, look it up. There's the Washington, D.C., the City of London, and the Vatican are all not bound by the laws of the land in which they are in, which is why they're these separate legal districts which follow the law of the high seas of piracy, which is how England was a seafaring nation, which goes back to the Vikings, the Phoenicians, boat peoples. Looks to be a lot more than just Jewish people, or whatever that means, is just so many of us. So we're all mixed together. So this is a big part of all. This is not. It's not just something that black people, have to get free from the white man. Well, this white man right here has to get free from all of this confusion, like the rest of us, and figure out what's the truth and what's the right thing to do. So obviously, the Declaration of Independence mattered. Literally, meaning that this was thought, it was said, it was written, it was agreed upon. Actions in the Revolutionary War started that process of trying to create a government actually run by its own people, which is fairly exceptional in the history of man as I understand it. And we need to do that again today because we've got the United Nations working along with the Pope, who's going to lecture us about the environment and, they are going to offer their change. The same people that created the United States, the Freemasons. It's always been a mix of people. So we need to be able to choose wisely. Because if you hate money and the one percenters, but you're buying into their anti-hate speech and their PayPal money, then you are tricked by magic, is what we have in common. Words are thoughts and feelings and actions that cause change in the physical world. So I'm sorry, but that's the truth. There really is something to magic. These people that run science at the top of it are sorcerers. They know about all that occult stuff. Whether you like it or not, it's what everything's based on. So no group is left unmessed with. Christians, you're so wrong about whatever the heck it means to be Christian. Secular people, you're so wrong. Deep occultism is woven into the damn street layout of Washington, D.C. That's why there's an eagle. The flag of the United States has red and white stripes because the Vikings had red and white stripes. So it just pisses me off when there's known information that's not speculation but happens to be alternative to the mind control lies that are taught to us through the miseducation system. Stuff's got to change. Not an option to continue the way we are. So let's just look at how much of this we have no clue about. And this goes out to Christian patriots. You think you're going to stand behind the Constitution and we can just go back to that? Good luck. It didn't work the first time. What are you going to do different this time? Well, what? You're not even supposed to be in a church. That was a word that Rome put in the Bible when they translated it from Greek. It's a congregation. So that goes for any of us. Not supposed to be citizens on a piece of paper. That's not who you are. That causes a big problem in the scales of justice that the left promotes and communism uses, and that's all in our concept of judicial law. Well, that is saying that, it's the same way that you have slaves, is by saying that this government owns these people and can dictate to them what they're to do. You can't get outside of that. You cannot. And that what sense are you making in that you're hating these 1%, these wealthy people that make everything, but you're depending on the system that they created? Stupid. In Congress, July 4, 1776, the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America, when in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to separation. Okay, now me personally, I pray every day to Father God and Mother Nature. And the reason why I bring that up is because this is brought up, laws of nature and of nature's God. So it's important that atheists be truthful and go, look, Einstein didn't think that way. Stephen Hawking's, looked into what CERN is doing, and they're saying that you shouldn't mess with this. It's too much of a threat. So obviously there has to be an end to which you can just do whatever you want to do, just because you can do it. And that the rules of physics would be actual laws. You can't make a law. I mean, you can write down on a piece of paper and people can agree, and cops can go out and pick people up for having marijuana, but that's insane. Because no crime has been committed. Against what? What recognition is there? All the laws are just saying, because we said so. We're a government. We said so. That's not good enough. That's how all these people follow Hitler and Mao and, Zionism, and all these people are killed, which we're about set up for World War III right now. We hold these truths to be self-evident, and that means they're using reason, that all men are created equal. They're created equal. Don't fight for equality with your little justice scales. That they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. You can't give rights to people. We vote, gay people can get married. That's stupid. Just like it's stupid for the government doesn't need to be involved in a hetero marriage. Has none of their business. Christians, just because you get married doesn't mean anything. Look at all the divorce. Doesn't mean anything. What marriage is two people get together and make babies. And then it's more than that. It's that the love that they generate helps people beyond that family. That the family is the unit of nature. That's a man and a woman and a baby. So, I mean, to me, I would just say that that's where you separate it, is that's great that gay people love each other, and anybody should have all kinds of relationships that fosters love. But if it's not in respect of this higher purpose, just not just what people want to do, but what is, so that requires discipline as much as liberation. Gnostics, which is back when science and spirituality was combined, the pursuit, as it is coming back around to now with CERN, says that a human being is not what we all are. It's what we wish to be through being having a monogamous relationship, and that love producing that sexual energy not used for physical lust, but transformed into spiritual life, being who we really are. So that's, it kind of breaks through these designations here, the truth. So, you got something like yoga, where people are working on this Kundalini energy. They're going beyond physics into metaphysics, just like CERN. So that's how you can't be in these groups against these other things. It's information is bigger than these groups hold. The unalienable rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. So the powers that the current shadow government, the military-industrial complex, the transnational corporate pirate government, is tyranny, because we're not consenting whether you're on the left or the right. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it's the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. So obviously this is saying that, look, whenever this button needs to be hit, it needs to be hit now, and therefore there'd be no reason that you wouldn't do it here in 2015, if need be. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably the same object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, come on, these things right here are taking us over. We are all doing that. That should help us to have a little respect for each other, and the fact that we're all confused and not going the way that many of us would say. That's not right for me to go over that line. You can't lose your individual conscious identity, because that's where you choose to let the truth in. Certainly drugs affects that, Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. The people were not allowed representation as colonists in the Parliament of the Great Britain, which ruled them, and we see that this is like, to me, I read this like what's going on with the Trans-Pacific Partnership and the United Nations and Bilderberg and all this, where It says he has called together legislative bodies it places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their public records for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures. Oh gosh, I mean, that's just all this paper law world, you know. Corporate world is ruling us from outside. So what good would it do to go back to the Constitution? We're not. That's unrealistic. Evidently, it wasn't good enough to hold up against it. So if we don't recognize that us as individuals are invaded by malware, essentially, of alien ideas, we manufactured consent, as Chomsky would say, let alone our national sovereignty. It's illegitimate government. Here's an interesting one about immigration. He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states for that purpose, obstructing the laws for naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migrations hither, and raising the conditions of new appropriations of land. I would say currently immigration is not good, not just for the United States, but for the world, because it's just like how all these people are in China working in sweatshops to make these iPhones. We're still in a slave trade system with these corporate pirates. So if you have all these Mexican people who come here and they don't assimilate to the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, and etc., then that's not a good thing. You know what I mean? If you want Obamacare and all these laws, well, you can't have all these people here that don't respect the rule of law. And then, of course, that gets back to what is law. Law is gravity. That's physics. Law, I don't care if somebody says something and writes it down and people like it, and somebody else has got a gun and saying they're going to, lynch you if you don't do it. It doesn't make it right. It's just not. So what? For imposing taxes on us without our consent. For cutting off trade. Well, we can trade without the TPP. Who's asking for that? Here's environmental destruction. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coasts, burned our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. He has excited domestic insurrections amongst us. That's what this Confederate flag, false flag Charleston shooting is. And all 9/11 and all every day now with the news is an attempt to incite civil disobedience so martial law can be declared. And we got Jade Helm happening, man, and then we got this economic currency crash, which these experts are saying is likely to come to fruition, so that the U.S. dollar could drop to less than half of its value by the fall. So we got to deal with this. What do you think? I think that we need to start acting better, and that you can't sit here and talk about gay rights, for example, and you can't champion your solo cause. This is more important than gay people. I love people that happen to be gay, just like I love myself. So I'm not going to be. I can't tolerate that kind of treatment. Not to me and my ego, but to. We need to make these things priorities. CERN is a priority. That's the biggest threat physically to the Earth right now. that I know of, because it's way more potent than a nuclear bomb. And because all this Jack Parsons, all these people that are at the top of science are involved in all this occult stuff. Just the rest of the people are saying, I don't like what you're saying, so I'm going to go focus on over here on what I like. That's completely childish. Thank you.